Okay, here we are.
How's things?
Good. How are you?
Gee, I'm after breaking everything.
You broke everything. That's one for the blooper reel.
Yeah. Now we're back.
How did you get yourself a chair? Very good. I got myself a chair recently. Hello, everybody who's joined us. Welcome. I see a couple of comments coming in already. If people could comment in if they can hear us loud and clear, we will give people a couple of minutes to join and then we'll get started. So yes, hopefully you've joined us for our previous webinars. This is the fourth in our series where myself and Paul, we are co-founders of HiiKER. We have gone through some of the features and functionality around the apps, which is obviously which was our main focus really for a long time, Paul. I suppose you could say we gave the website a good revamp throughout the middle of last year and then another one at the start of this year. And to be honest, we're just really happy with it. So
no, like I honestly I think I prefer the web for a lot of things, particularly if I'm creating a hike. The web is just a better experience, the big screen, all that kind of stuff. So definitely excited to demonstrate it. And again, I think it's something that all too often I hear from people that they don't really use it all that much or they hadn't known about it. So that's why I'm happy we're doing this episode.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's a lot of what I'll be talking about today is to be honest, my own personal use of how I use HiiKER. Whenever we're going out for a hike and I'm planning the route, I'm generally planning it on the website when I have my big screen in front of me and my cup of tea and all the nice amenities that I have when I'm not stuck in a car or in a car park trying to plan a route, which also works very well. But look, I think the power of the route planner within the HiiKER website is something to be seen. So so look, if you're new to these webinars or you're brand new to HiiKER, as mentioned, we've gone through a series. This is fourth in the series. We've gone through the apps. We did an intro to the apps with the basic functionality as part one a couple of weeks back, and then we did a deep dive into the hike planner within the app. And then our third part of the series was again app based, but it was kind of more advanced features and navigation toolkit kind of stuff. So now we're going to look into the HiiKER website, and I suppose one of the questions that I get on a weekly basis is, how do I get the HiiKER app on my laptop? And I don't know where that question comes from, really. I don't know if lots of people on Windows machines are downloading apps these days, or people are doing the same on Mac. But there is no. Well, I think there is a way to get the app onto your Mac in some factor format, but don't do that. Basically, the HiiKER website has absolutely everything you need for preparation for your hikes. Obviously, you're not going to bring your laptop out on a hike with you. Sometimes Paul does that, but he's a bit odd. When you're preparing for a hike, the HiiKER website kind of has a lot what you need.
Do you want to go ahead, Pete, and start sharing your screen?
Yeah, indeed, I will. So present share screen, and we can get started. Great.
Nice.
Everybody can see that? Cool. Awesome. Okay, so Paul, look, if you don't mind, you might grab some of the questions and interrupt me if you need, or if I'm going too fast, slow me down. But so this is the HiiKER website. This is where you go when you hit hiiker.com or hiiker.app, whichever, or just Google HiiKER. This is what you will find with our basic homepage. Our navigation is quite simple. Up the top here, you'll find the main map page. You can find a hike, which is essentially our search experience for official hikes and community hikes. You can create a hike. You can chat really quickly to support or find our support site. Again, just at the top this time, when you click chat with support here, you're going to talk to myself or Paul. So again, as we said on the last call, if anybody contacts support, we might not be chatting with you for about 45 minutes. And then most importantly, you've got the login page. So I think an important place to start that I decided to start with is something that not everybody's aware of. If you're mainly an app user, you might think that you create activities there. Maybe you create a hike on your app, or you create a recording, or you create a hike list. you might think that that only lives on your device, which is not true. Essentially, what happens is, though, that data syncs to your HiiKER cloud profile, and it becomes available on wherever you log into HiiKER, including the HiiKER website. So I'm going to tap on login here. I'm going to jump into my account, and I'm going to show you where you will end up. But I will very quickly just bounce out of that, because that's the admin section, which I'm only allowed to see. So this is what you will see when you log in, which is the HiiKER dashboard. And it's essentially a place for all of your HiiKER information. So this is the main dashboard of your profile. You'll see all of your stats, your the amount of hikes you've created, the amount of recordings you've done, the amount of lists you have, all of your hiking stats, your total distance, total elevation, all of the great stuff. Recent recordings, comments, all of that things. So it's just a nice place to kind of see an overview of all of your activity on HiiKER, whether that's on the app or on the website. All of your data will be kind of collated and presented to you here. But what I was talking about earlier on, you can see all of your hikes, recordings, and hike lists on the HiiKER website, which again is a different experience than you'll have on the app. You get that large screen, you get to jump in, you get to see things in a different way and review your content on a bigger device, which can be really handy in certain areas. So on the left-hand side, you'll see all of those options. You can see my hikes, you can see my recordings, my hike lists, your completed hikes. And then there's a number of different kind of options that can be useful in other different ways. Obviously, your previously created print maps are all here. And then there's some other kind of options that you can kind of jump into and see some more information. Obviously, your account settings are in there, which is quite handy if you need to get to them on the website as well. But I'm going to jump into my hikes and just show you the experience here. So these are all of the hikes that I've kind of created over the past number of years. They are various different formats and factors and testing and all sorts of different things. But it's just, again, that bigger experience, that broader experience of an interface that's slightly different and maybe a little bit more encapsulating than it is on the app with the small screen. So there's lots of things. If you have a ton of hikes here, you can search them by name, which is nice and handy to be able to kind of filter them out. So I can look up any hike that is kind of labeled in the Lake District, and it'll immediately pop up the 4 hikes that I've created for that area in the Lake District. And then I can obviously clear all that. You can filter them by distance, again, just specific to different hikes that you might have created, or you want to kind of view all the different hikes that you've created that are easy difficulty just for a particular view that you're looking for. And then all the different filters can go by created at date, and then you can kind of sort as well. So just a lot of different ways that you can kind of find your hikes and find different information that you might be looking for on the website. Up on the top section here, there's a number of different options. So the top one here is import, which when you click on it, you will be able to drag in a GPX file, and that will can create a hike from a GPX file. If you don't know much about GPX files, we did cover that in a previous webinar, where you can import kind of root files into the app, and it'll build you a HiiKER hike out of those GPX files. So if you want to import on the website, you can do that here. One of the nice parts about the website as well is that you can import multiple GPX files at once. So you can select up to a number. I wouldn't make the number too huge.
Yeah, I think I tested it up to 1,000. Which again is just helpful if you're coming from another platform. If you're coming from one of our terrible competitors, then you can go to here, click import, and yeah, we tested up to 1,000. But I would say there's no kind of known limit at this point in time of how many you can import in one go. You just drag them in there, and it'll just import them all one by one.
Yeah, kind of takes the names from the GPX files, which should be pretty nicely formatted depending on where you've got your files from. And then you've essentially ported all your data from everywhere into HiiKER, which is, again, a really nice experience here for searching, sorting, doing all that kind of stuff. Tapping new will bring you to the hike planner on the website, which is essentially the ability to kind of create your own route within the planner. We'll go through that in a bit. The delete option, again, a handy one, allows you to kind of multi-delete and kind of tidy up your hikes there. You can obviously delete them individually, but particularly on the website, it's a nice place to manage all of your data. So if you've collected a lot of information over the years on the apps, it's it's a nice place to delete things, tidy them up. You can share your profile here. This is a different view as well. So this is a list view of all my hikes. And if I tap on this little map icon, it'll actually show me eventually when it loads in, it'll show me all of my planned routes on the map. So you can kind of start to see all of your different plans on one kind of simple map. If you want to take a screenshot of it or do anything like that. This was a Christmas tree hike that I created for Christmas. I did not walk it. Please don't walk it. So yes, lots of different views that you can kind of take in there, and again, a great way to manage your data. The same goes for my recordings as well. So all of your recorded hikes are listed on here. Just again, a really nice place to review all of your recordings on a big screen. Or of course, sorry, do you know what? I will take one step back and I'll go to, I won't jump to recordings just yet. I'll actually go into the individual kind of hike experience. So obviously you have your list of all your different hikes here. You can quickly access things like, you can send it to your phone through this little download icon button. You can do something handy if you have something saved onto your web experience here. Scan the QR code and it'll instantly open up on your HiiKER app. Or you can actually text yourself or others a link to that hike, which is a nice experience as well, and is quite popular with some people too. From here, you can export the files. You can download GPX, KML, as we discussed earlier, route files that you can use on other platforms, or you can send to Garmin. So if you have a Garmin Connect account, you can send that hike really quickly to that Garmin Connect account and use it on your Garmin devices. Other things you can do in this quick access menu, you can save things to a list. So if I tap on this little bookmark icon, I can add stuff to any of the lists that I've created. So I'm going to add this quickly to the test list. It's going to check in there. I can jump over to my lists then now, and you can see that kind of collection kind of set up in there. So again, nice way to like quickly organize things. Big screen, all good. There's a sub options menu here then with lots of other little features. Map views, 3D views, print maps. You can do all this quickly from the main menu here and the quick options menu. But I'm going to actually jump into this hike. So this is a hike that I created earlier on. It's just a basic Lake District loop walk. But again, comparing this to the experience of the app, you just get a much broader view. You can see everything on the screen at once, all of the stats, the images, a little static map preview, which you can see the route from a distance. And then you'll also be able to see comments and reviews listed here on one page, which is great. In terms of the options, we do have all of our same options here. Once you're in the overview page, all of our download options and sharing options are there. We have this 3D preview, which is really nice. Essentially, it loads up a full kind of 3D flyover of your hike. So again, nice to see that on a big, large screen with the maps working really well. You can speed up the tempo. You can even switch over to some of our pro maps if you have access, which again is a nice experience to see these things settled over an Ordnance Survey map. You can pause it and you can skip ahead. A lot of our competitors charge for this for some strange reason, but you can do it for free on HiiKER for any hike that you want. And it also shows you a little distance and elevation tracker as you're continuing to fly over and see through your hike there. So hope someday that we can bring sharing to this too. I'd really like to see the ability to download these little 3D previews and share them on social media. I think they'd be really successful. But yeah, something that we're potentially looking at in the future. No promises. Of course, you can add them to the list from here. You can complete the hike here. So you can tap that, it'll add it to your completed hikes. And then again, you've got all the same options that you have that you can you can print sections of the map. So if I jump into the print map option, it'll load up the hike, and then I can select a particular area to print out in whatever scale that I want. So again, this is a particularly handy feature on the website. If you're printing from the mobile app, sometimes it can be a bit tricky to get the PDF from your phone to the your laptop, which is probably the one that's connected to your printer. So whenever I'm printing maps, I'm printing on the website predominantly. So if I jump back here, apologies again if I'm going a bit quick, just to say if I am going a bit quick for you guys, this will be available up on our YouTube with our previous webinars as well. So you can rewatch it at any speed that you like. Yes, so other options we have here, we've actually added something new, which is the ability to embed maps, which maybe not applicable to everybody, but if you have a blog or if you have your own kind of little hiking website, you can embed hikes into that. It essentially creates a live viewer from HiiKER, which you can then install on your website through a handy little piece of embedded code here in iframe. Maybe a bit technical for some people, but the other option, one of the big ones that I have here is the edit and planner button. So again, like any hikes that you have on HiiKER, you can open this up and edit the actual route itself. So if I click on this, it'll open the route in the planner, and you can then adjust and edit and then save it again, and that'll have all the updates in it. So yeah, look, the overview page for your hikes, it's there. It's broader. You can see everything. It's a nice experience to sit down and prep when you're not out in your hike, or to kind of review your hikes once you're done, review your recordings as well. If you want to view the map, again, it's a nice experience here with the big screen. You have all of the features that you have on the app, including all of your day breakdowns. If the route or if the hike is broken up into multiple stages, you can highlight each one and kind of give it the attention it deserves, and then in the planner edit each section as you wish. For each section and for each hike, you will have a full elevation profile here down the bottom as well, so you can really see what's coming up. There's some nice little peaks here, unexpected in the Lake District, but maybe they're not too big. But again, as you drag across the elevation profile here, you can see the kind of challenges that are coming up ahead, and then get obviously a quick breakdown of what to expect for each day and each section. Yeah, so viewing maps on the app is probably one of the biggest benefits. So if you haven't seen recently, we have updated our mapping system. We've put a lot of work into it over the last couple of months, I would say. To be honest, I am thinking now that we probably have the best quality premium maps, Ordnance Survey maps, USGS maps of any platform out there. And that's a big, bold statement for a small company like ours, but we are, I think it's something that we'd stand behind. They're more performant. We've essentially rebuilt our entire map hosting system so that our maps are completely lightweight, super high quality and super performant, which you'll particularly notice in the UK and in places like the US, and particularly on the apps as well. They're phenomenally fast, and they're performing really well. So yes, it's definitely an improved experience here. If you haven't seen our previous webinars, obviously we feature a set of different mapping options. We start with our kind of free options up on the top here, which is our standard map, which is kind of a general OSM based contour map, topographic contour map. We have our satellite maps, which are again super high quality, run into very high detail as you're zooming in. So really nice to be able to see that and prepare for different forest areas or different terrain as you're planning your hike. We have our parks map, which highlights some of the parkland areas across the world, and particularly in the US, we have these overlays which will show you some of the national parks maps over there. Hopefully we'll be able to expand that offering of official national parks maps over the next few months. And then we have our premium maps. So I'll jump to the national map first. Our premium maps, essentially, they are collections of topographic maps that we have kind of curated and collected over the few years. The national map contains national topographic maps from different governmental agencies and from mapping providers like, as I mentioned before, the Ordnance Survey in the UK, OSI in Ireland. You will see our coverage areas here. If you zoom right out of the map, you'll see that we're essentially trying to map the world, which is a tough job, but we're getting there. We've got about half of Europe covered. We've got the full United States covered. You can zoom in here real quick and see some of the USGS maps. And as you zoom into areas like IGN, you can see, or into Spain, you can see the likes of IGN Spain, IGN France, and so on and so forth. You can see some of our collections are growing, even in Scandinavia, Sweden and Norway. We plan to expand this over the next year, pushing further into Europe and overseas and anywhere we can find maps. So if you have any suggestions of maps that you'd like to see on HiiKER, please send us a message and we will do our best to get them on the platform. Another one of our Pro Plus map collections is Hiking Plus, which is slightly different than the National Plus options. They are more independent cartographers that we work and partner with and license directly. So they are maps like Harvey maps in the UK, which again are incredibly detailed, handmade, super high quality, fit for purpose hiking maps. In Ireland, we have the likes of East-West Mapping, which again, amazing levels of detail that you can see around these places that you won't find on other maps. And then we have the likes of Purple Lizard over in the US at the moment, which I think I would have to admit are my favorite maps just at the moment. They're just so much fun. I think they have amazing little, if I can find some of them here, little tidbits of information that are overlaid onto the map. They have kind of quotes in different places, which are from amazing old poets and playwrights and all sorts of things. But they also show all of the core and key trails in the area, as well as icons representing the important kind of POIs you'll see in the locations. And then they also do one thing which is very different than any other map, is that being called Purple Lizard, they feature these purple lizards on their map, which are just these very special places of interest that essentially people go and hunt for. And when they get to this location on the map, they see something very cool. So just a really fun one to look at and to discover. In mainland Europe, we feature the full compass map set. In Germany and Austria, and then in Italy, we feature some independent mapping providers.
Yeah, I definitely do want to call out those Purple Lizard maps. If anyone is heading over to the States at all to do some hiking, they have absolutely fantastic maps in around Pennsylvania, Virginia, West Virginia, Ohio. Sorry, they're really, really good maps. And for anyone thinking about heading stateside, if you can get a cheap flight over, I think they are excellent maps. And I know, again, we've had a bit of an insurgence of new users from that particular area as well. So if anybody's here, please do shout out. You're very, very welcome.
Yeah, Shenandoah is a place that I have dreamt of going to ever since I heard the song. Yes, so so look, there's some of our mapping options. I won't dwell too much on them. Historical maps, really, really fun, really different. Definitely one of my favorite hiking maps to kind of use. They're the ones in the UK, kind of based around the late 1800s, early 1900s, and just really changed the way that you can hike and discover things and compare and contrast against some of the more modern maps. So look, we probably went on too long, but we're map crazy in HiiKER, as you can obviously see. And the more maps we add, the happier we are, and hopefully the happier you guys are as well. So yes, what else will I talk about? So yeah, look, in addition, and again, we would have went through this in some of our earlier webinars with our app, but we do feature additional kind of map overlays and POIs. So our map overlays feature things like slope angle data, so you can activate the slope angle, zoom into an area that has particularly dangerous kind of slopes and hills, and it'll show you some of the more kind of severe slopes in the area. Just a nice way to, while you're planning a hike, if you see the contours are getting a bit tight, this will give you an indication of how dangerous the location is. Really, we have things like cell tower coverage, which will show you kind of mobile network coverage in the area, or a general kind of idea of if you're stuck out somewhere, you probably want to get towards that if you need to use your mobile network. The next overlay here is the HiiKER Hikes overlay, which essentially takes all of our 140,000 at this stage hikes in the world and overlay those onto the map. Now, it can look like a bit of a spaghetti junction at times, but it can be really valuable to just, there's lots of different uses for it. I use it just when I'm out hiking. I very often will not plan a route. I will just use the all of the different hikes that we have on HiiKER just to follow different paths depending on which way I want to go. But it's also very useful for planning a hike. So when you're planning a route, you can follow different paths that are kind of known hikes to HiiKER, which is a reassurance there.
To jump in there as well, Pete, if you're using like the national layer, Ordnance Survey, or you're using Harvey maps, etc., it can be really helpful to see a different data set as well at the same time as viewing that map. So when you pull up the HiiKER Hikes overlay there, you're seeing an entirely different data set. And it can be really, really helpful just to kind of help give you more of an indication of what you might see in a certain area and what might be helpful. So yeah, that's one of the main reasons I use it, and I do find it really, really helpful.
Yeah, I suppose that's a lot of what we do with the additional features on HiiKER is more reassurance kind of can help people get to where they need to go safely. So all of these features kind of layered on top of each other and using them in conjunction with each other can give you real confidence to hike even solo if you felt like that. So we also have all of our weather maps. I don't know if it's raining over here in the UK at the moment. But probably not. No, I see a weather band kind of up there around Iceland. It's raining up there. But yeah, weather maps or weather overlays are great while out hiking and while preparing for your hike, just to be fully prepared of the rainfall, the temperature, snowfall, and wind, and even cloud cover there as well. And then, like the HiiKER Hikes overlay, you can overlay your own data. So the My Hikes overlay will show you all of your own hikes, which again can be very useful when you're out hiking or when you're preparing for a hike or you're trying to link two hikes together. Bring in your own hikes in the overlay here, and you can see them all on one map. I'll just give you a better insight into that and how it loads. So I do have some better ones here. Sorry, I've lost them all. I have some here anyway, but you can see how it works. So I've got one little hike down here, and then I have one little hike down here, and then I've got this.
Pete, I'd like to comment. That's a very disappointing amount of hikes that you have.
It is. I don't know where all my hikes are.
No, if I remember correctly, you were experimenting with a new delete all feature, so you deleted all your hikes.
That's probably true. Yeah. I'm not.
You do still have your Christmas tree though.
I do still have my Christmas tree. I'm not going to bring up my recordings because that'll be even more embarrassing. It'll just be 150 recordings around my housing estate. You can also click on these, which will bring up the preview just so you know what they are. You can do that with the HiiKER Hikes layer as well. So again, that can actually be a valuable way of finding hikes in a particular area. So if I load up the HiiKER Hikes overlay, I probably shouldn't be doing this within the context of viewing a hike, but if I tap on this hike, you'll kind of see where it goes, bring you the proper pink outline, and it'll give you a little preview here. If I hide this, yeah. So
again, it's a small feature people could overlook, but it can be really, really helpful. If you're out in a hike there and you're wondering what trail goes by, sometimes maybe I'm just a bit of a trail nerd, but like I find it interesting to think, oh, I'm walking over the Pennine Way right now, or I'm walking over the coast to coast path. So again, it's a little feature you can tap on that and find out what amazing trails, and realizing that if you turn right at the coming corner there, you could walk for 200 miles in that direction.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Very good point. The last one of our mapping options here is the POIs tab. So again, just so to let you know how to get in here, all of this is contained within the maps button. I can jump over here to my main map so I can switch my map styles, jump over here to overlays to activate and toggle on and off overlays. And then the third tab is the POIs tab, which essentially show you a bunch of points of interest on the map that we have collected from different sources. So if I am, let's go back to my hike. One handy thing to note, if you are viewing a hike map and you have kind of lost the hike on the map, if you tap this little kind of square frame button up here, it'll bring you right back to the hike itself. So that's a kind of a focus button that will bring you back to whatever object you're kind of looking at this point in time. So jumping back to POIs, I've activated B&Bs here. So say if I was preparing for this hike, I've planned out the route, I've saved it. I'm kind of going, okay, I need to think about where I'm going to stay kind of day 1, day 2. So I'm going to activate some of the accommodation options. So we've got B&Bs, we've got campgrounds, we have hostels, hotels. That'll probably do me for now. Let's have a look at the full hike, which is all of this. That looks good. So you can see all the little POI icons have appeared on the map here. I'm going to go back to highlighting day 1. And I'm going to go, okay, so this is the end of day 1. I've got a really nice collection of places to stay. I do not have to sleep on the ground, as many long distance hikers do. I think this particular area in the Lake District is very good for kind of B&B hikers, you big softies. But look, the end of this trail is right, or the end of this day 1 is right on this bridge, and just around the corner there is a B&B. And I've just clicked on that icon and I've got a full oversight into the name of the B&B, ratings and reviews pulled straight from the internet. I've got the phone number, I've got the website, which I'm going to click on, see if it works. It does. Excellent. I can book straight from here, and essentially I've got my place to stay for the night. I've even got images and I've even got reviews from people just 4 months ago who stayed there. It looks like an absolutely gorgeous place, and I would love to go here. Oh, it even has beer, which is again a plus.
Add that to waypoints, quick.
Yes, yeah. Look, this is actually the perfect place to stay. So you can actually add that to your own custom waypoint set, and save it, and it'll be there, kind of ready for you to go whenever you load your waypoints. Waypoints on HiiKER are essentially a custom set of POIs that you have created yourself. Instead of looking at all of the B&B options, you can create a waypoint that's just one B&B option, and that's your kind of chosen highlighted one.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, look, that's POIs. You can click again on the different options to see different things, but they're all the kind of mapping options within HiiKER on the website. Again, you will see all of this stuff on the apps too, so don't fret that if you create a waypoint on the website for your particular hike, that's going to sync over to your app, so it's available for you when you're navigating with your actual phone. So I could actually load up the app there and show you the waypoint that I've just created, but I'm not going to share the screen and do all that. You can trust us. So again, while on the map, you will have certain options. So I can open, because I've pre-planned this route and I'm viewing it here, I can open the route in the planner and make edits to it if I wanted to. I can create a brand new hike from this point if I wanted to. I can then open up obviously my waypoints, which I have, which I've been looking at there, and I've added a few of them. Then I can do things like go to location. So I can look at Windermere, which I think is nearby, jump to that location, which is actually the very start of this hike. So you can jump to different locations and even go to coordinates. So again, if I tap on the go to location button, I can set this here. I can enter in longitude, latitude. I can enter a UK grid reference, and that will pinpoint that location. So again, very handy for kind of the serious navigators out there who are specifically pinpointing certain areas within different grid references. And then other options, you have the measurement tool, which again is something that we ported over from the app. The measurement tool will help you kind of judge distances on a particular area. So we've got this little viewpoint here on Oris Head. I'm going to set a marker here. I want to know how long it's going to take me to get kind of parallel here to Latrigg, which is the next mountain there. And that's going to segment that little section of the trail, show me some data, the distance, the elevation gain. There's a big downhill section here, but then there's a decent climb. Might not look that kind of tricky when you're looking at it downhill, but then you're getting the elevation here too, which can just give you good indications of what's going on and what's coming up. And then again, you can, like I displayed earlier on, you can print your hike map. So one of the actually one of the really nice things on the website here, when you're viewing on a big screen, is the 3D maps. So just to jump back into maps, I'm going to activate 3D mode. Actually, I'm going to activate this satellite map because it's particularly nice in 3D mode. And then I am going to zoom in. You can kind of manage the map by, you can tilt the map by holding Control and dragging, and then you can pitch the map at any kind of angle that you wish, which is again a nice way to kind of really get the full impact of this 3D mode. If you find yourself kind of out of whack and you can't, you're kind of zooming in and out and you just want to get back to kind of north and top down, you can tap this little compass icon at the top here and it'll fully reset you back to north. So I do know that some people kind of struggle with the key mapping options on the device, depending on what mouse you have. But again, holding down Control and dragging will allow you to pitch and drag and kind of spin on a particular kind of point. And then kind of zooming in, you can zoom in with these options as well, which is quite handy if you don't have a scrollable mouse like I do. And then of course you can get back to where you were looking with the compass mode, top down, and then our focus mode as well, which will bring you back to the entire route. Again, little top tip, these panels are hideable. So if you just want to get a nice clean view of the map, you can do that by hiding those panels, or you can make them really big and get a really good idea of the elevation profile down here. So yes, that was probably a lot to go through for just the maps. Yeah, I don't think there's much else to show on this page.
No, I think Pete is probably a good time to jump into the planner, maybe.
Yeah, well, I think so. Planner or searching, what do you reckon?
I would say maybe go for the planner, and would be my inkling, because we probably could be a bit tight on time. It's already 7:37, so yeah.
That's fair enough. So in our main navigation, you'll see the option to create a hike. Again, if you're with us for our webinar 2, we went through this experience on the apps, which we have fully revamped. Again, back in January, we released a big update to the apps that has a lot of advanced functionality around planning a hike, but we also added it to the website. Now, don't let that put you off. Planning a hike on HiiKER is a very simple experience. So sorry, let me just throw away some of these POIs just to really clear up the map and get a nice clean experience. So yes, planning a hike on HiiKER is very simple. Say I want to start in Ambleside here. I'm going to click once on the map. That's going to add my first marker. I want to go to Grasmere. That's going to be my entire hike. I click on the map at Grasmere. It's going to build a route for me. Essentially what that's doing is it's snapping to the best known walking path to Grasmere from Ambleside. That's when it's done that, it's created the full elevation profile here. It's even gone and found some surface data in the area. You're going to be walking on gravel, then you're going to be walking on dirt for a period. And then you're going to be walking on some asphalt just as you're coming into the Grasmere area. If I wanted to continue that through this area, I can obviously keep adding points. That's going to keep increasing my distance, my hikes. As you can see, you've got a running total over here. It's 13.15 kilometers, and it's 315 meters of elevation over the full period. And we're starting to see the difficulty rating kind of set up. We've got a difficulty gauge, which we determine through kind of the distance of the hike, the difficulty of the elevation, and some of the terrain. You can obviously change that. You can override it yourself just by tapping on this. I actually think that's probably going to be a pretty easy hike, so I'm going to set it to easy. But yeah, from there, I can simply save the plan. I've got a full route from Ambleside up to the Legberth here. Legberth, wait.
I'm going to, Pete, just jump in quickly. So we just have a user here asking.
Yeah.
We have C Drizzle. I'm struggling with that, but yeah. So you just see the routing option there over to the right hand
Yes.
side of the page. So you have the little walking man. Then you have the bike option, and you have a
Exactly.
car option as well there. Or you
Yeah.
also have the first one there, which is a straight line. So again, depending on what kind of route you're creating, you'll have those different options.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to go through now. So again, if I decide I go from Ambleside up to High Broad Rain here, and I want to go to Heron Pike, I tap on here. That's actually it's found a pretty quick route up there. Let me try a different one. I just drag this point over here, and then I drag a point to this location. There's really a lot of paths up in this area. Okay, right. Here's an example. I want to go from this peak to Burkhouse Moor. There can't be a direct path. Okay, there's not such a direct path. It's kind of bringing me all the way down here, and it's telling me to kind of walk up this. But I'm confident that I can actually go directly up in a fairly straight line. I know the path it's going. So I'm going to undo my setting there, and I'm going to switch to draw straight lines, which is actually going to allow me to draw a path anywhere that I like from point A to point B in a straight line. Which again gets over some of that more difficult snapping technology that we use, because it will only find paths or snap to paths that it knows within our database. And look, we might not have every single path in the world. So if you are getting that frustration of the route planner is bringing me all the way around here, I know that there's a more direct path. You can switch that off by using draw straight lines. And also for the cyclists out there, you can create cycle paths or cycle routes. So again, if I go from Ambleside to Grasmere this time, it's going to follow the roads wherever it can, or the most optimal kind of cycling paths to that area. Similarly with roads, I can snap to roads. If I'm going to be driving this long section and I want to go up to Keswick, it's going to find the nearest road. So it's not going to bring you up the mountains. It's going to find the direct driving path there. So yeah, that's our routing system. I'm just going to clear the map here. At any point in time, you can clear any of what you've done by tapping on this little clear option here. And I'm going to look at some of the route options. So I'm going to turn my snapping back on, and I'm going to go from Ambleside. I'm going to take a route up here. Then I'm going to go to Grasmere this way. And if I tap on the loop button, it's going to bring me in the most direct hiking path back to my original point of kind of terminus. So where I set off. If I do an undo here and tap the out and back button, it's actually going to draw a path all the way back along how I originally planned it out, which is just a really handy feature. If you don't want to do a loop, you don't want to find the quickest way, you want to find an out and back, which is particularly handy for something like a peak climb. So I will plan the climb all the way up to a peak, then just hit the out and back button. It's going to bring me all the way back down, and it's going to kind of match all that. I can always reverse the hike as well. If I've decided I want to actually go from Grasmere to Ambleside, I can tap on reverse, and that'll flip the direction of the hike and give me the proper elevation profile. Add trace is an unusual one, something that we use for different purposes. You can essentially import a GPX file that lays on the map that's not interactable. So if you had a GPX file of a particular hike that you wanted to trace over with the planner, you could do that there. Again, a little bit more of a technical one. But then we get into some of the slightly more advanced features, maybe not advanced, but multi-day hike planning. So I've created my route again here from Ambleside to Grasmere, and I've decided, okay, that's going to be my first section of this hike. I want to add a day 2. So I'm going to add a route that's going to create for me really quickly a new section of route. It's going to fade day 1 here, the first route that I created, and then I'm going to be able to start a brand new route, which is going to be Grasmere to, it's going to be a little bit longer. We'll head up the road here. We'll cross some of these peaks. Day 2 is definitely harder than day 1. But as you can see, that gives you the really nice option to plan out multi-day routes or multi-section routes. I can rename these if I want. So I'm going to say day 1, Ambleside. And I'm going to say day 2, grass to leg. One being grass and one being leg. You can also rename the routes here if you want. And then you can do some more. Sorry, I accidentally clicked there. So again, if you accidentally click on anything, you can tap on the undo button and then the redo button if you want to bring it back. So say I've completed my day 2 here. I now want to get the bus to Keswick from this location. So I'm going to add one new route. I'm going to say, okay, there's a transport option here. So I'm going to snap to the roads. And then one thing you can actually do is set the route style. So by setting the route style, it's going to give you some options. You can create alts, you can create spurs. What we define as alternate routes would be kind of different variations of the route, which you can kind of tack on and then choose to do while you're out on your hike. Spurs are, for me, kind of an out and back if you wanted to visit a particular POI or a peak and then come back to the same route. But I'm going to change this to transport, and that's actually going to not include this in the distance, total distance of my full planned trail or planned hike. So again, I can add another new route, which we will be in Keswick. I will change it to hiking paths again, and we can continue our journey. So you can see how here how you're starting to build a full kind of epic journey essentially in this way, where you can kind of build different routes, build variants. So again, if we go to add route here, that's going to add a new day to the end. I've decided that I want to create a alternate route that comes up here. If I don't feel like day 2 is going so well, I don't want to hit all these peaks, I'm going to rename that. I'm going to set the style to an alt. I'm going to rename it to not feeling so good. And then that's going to give us our alternate route for, sorry, again, misclick. That's going to give us our alternate route for day 2, which I can decide when I get to Grassmere. I can decide where I want to go up the peaks, or if I want to go through this kind of easier route, which is a nice, simple kind of lake pass walk. So yes, again, you can see how you can build some really epic adventures here. If you're going and walking the coast to coast path, you will see this kind of functionality there where you can we've broken things up into days, or if you're just building your own kind of multi-day hike.
Pete, you're starting to intimidate me a bit, the fact that you have described this as an easy trail, and I'm looking at some of those climbs there. I'm like, wow, this guy can hike.
It's only 150 meters.
Yeah, that's you know me.
I know you. Yeah, well, you're the one who can actually climb. You're the Billy Goat in this duo. So yeah, look, there's lots of different options here. You can kind of obviously delete days. You can reorder things. So if I decided that, well, look, I actually do need to reorder this into kind of to follow up from day 2, because that's going to be kind of linked to day 2. I want it to be in a nice order there. You can just grab this little icon and switch it to wherever you want. Nice way to keep everything in order and to reorder things. You can of course delete a day if you want, which will get rid of the initial day 1 there. And then you can move things around within different sections. So if I can drag this into section 1, if I decide that in one particular day I'm going to have multiple alts, spurs, you can kind of contain them into one day and keep them all organized like that. There are some other options. I'm just going to clear my plate here.
Just Pete, sorry, I didn't clear that. I was just going to say, some users just asking about kind of dragging routes. You can drag routes as you like. You know, when you create routes, you want to drag them anywhere at all. You can drag them into different days. You can reorder the days as well. So again, it's just one of the really nice experiences on the web. It's very easy to do. You can just click it, you drag it, and you can bring it wherever you like.
Exactly. Yeah. You can do all that. Yes. So one of the other features around the planner. How are we doing for time here? So one thing that I didn't explain too well, that when you're kind of just generally plotting out your route, you can grab any of these points at any time and move them. If I do a bit of a hover or if I hold in place for a second, you'll see this kind of gray line starts to appear, which is essentially going to be a preview of where the route gets drawn. So there are lots of options around here. I want to go through this kind of middle path here, so I'm going to drag it back here and then drop, and you can see that that's where the route is actually built. Just a nice way to kind of get full control of where you actually want the route to go. You can also add intermediate points. So one thing that I've seen that a lot of people struggle with is when they're editing a route, they don't want everything to move. They just want maybe the last section to move. So I've decided here with my drag and drop that this is the path that I want to go. But actually, I want to go up this way. So if I moved my entire route there, it's going to redirect me all the way to the north, which I don't want to do. So I'm going to drop this back here. Drop this back over here. And then I'm going to add an intermediate point. So if I hover over the route line, you'll see a little gray marker appear. And when I click, it's going to create an intermediate point, which essentially acts as an anchor point, or what we call a control point, which means when I drag the end point, it's going to keep everything that I've created before that intact. So just again to show you there, I think this is a really valuable feature, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I've created my path here, and I know I want to complete all of this hike, but I don't want to go up this way. So I'm going to hover over the route line. I'm going to add a new intermediate point, and then I'm finally able to drop this or drag this end marker to wherever I want. It's not going to affect anything that was set before the control point.
Yes.
And I can kind of drop that freely and easily.
I can't emphasize this enough. And this is why you do need some practice to kind of get good at this and get really good at creating planners on here. When you start to learn the little tricks like that, you can get really good at creating routes on here.
Yeah, intermediate points are your friend. They will help anchor. That's in fact, it's what I do quite often, is that I plan out the route to where I want it to go. If I don't know where the route's going, I let it auto snap. Then I go, okay, I really do like that. They're points that I want to hit. So I set an intermediate marker there, set an intermediate marker there, set an intermediate marker there. It's essentially locking the trail to where I want it to go.
I do want to stress it as well, particularly for people who are importing GPX files. Click along the trail, add in lots of control points there, which ultimately means that for any modifications you make, it won't change the full route. It'll just lock down the area in which it's going to be changed there. So again, it's something that you just play around with these control points. You will get it. But when you get it, it makes sense immediately. So yeah.
Yeah. I will do an example of that actually. So you can import hikes into the planner, so you have a kind of a start point to go by. One of those options, just to be clear, the import hike option up in the top. If I click on that, you can upload file, and again, I can jump back over to my hike here. I should have one downloaded. Let's have a look at something that's a bit more applicable then. Okay, I think I have one here. So the Miner's Way is a hike that in Ireland. You import that, it's essentially going to bring you here. Now, the problem is if I drag this endpoint, the HiiKER is going to try and reroute you to its best known path. So what I'm going to do is add anchor points to as many locations as I wish. And then I can figure out, okay, I can drag this point all the way back to Lara and it will reroute for me. I'll be happy out, I'll be able to do that, and it's all good. So yeah, intermediate points are definitely your friend. Another way to start a hike from a particular location, or not to start from scratch, is using the import hike button again, and then typing into the search bar. So if I put in Cumbria Way, for example, I can import the entire Cumbria Way into HiiKER. Or when I click on this button, it'll give me the option to import particular stages. So maybe I just want to walk the first 1, 2, 3 stages. I think this is something that's quite common. In fact, Paul, I think you were kind of section hiking the Pennine Way last year.
Yes.
So I want to bring in stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. 56 kilometers is all I've got in me for the weekend. So I'm going to import those routes. And again, I've got the perfect 3-day stage of the Cumbria Way ready to go with all of the different.
Yeah. It really, I just want to say it's a really, really handy, helpful feature there to be able to just grab that stuff, bring it in, but just bring in what you want, and it doesn't matter how long the trail is. If you're looking at the Southwest Coast Path, you can easily bring in 2 or 3 days that you've heard are really good in the middle of it without having to bring in the whole route itself. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, there's other handy features within the hike planner. So we talked about POIs earlier, which are POIs and waypoints, which again are your own set of kind of points of interest. But you can actually have hike specific points of interest. So if I right click on the map here, say over this caravan park, you have the ability to add a hike highlight. I'm gonna say this is, for example, a historical point. I'm gonna call this history site. I'm gonna add that to the map, and that's gonna essentially link a custom POI to this hike. So anywhere I open it, anybody I share it with will have that POI to hand. It's not attached to the trail. Doesn't need to be. Can be obviously attached to the trail if you line it up properly, but won't have a full bearing or attachment to the route itself, which can be very handy, particularly if something's just off trail and you want to get there. Like I suppose I could go there and I could create a new route. I could do my little alt from here to here, and then I have my small alternate route, or my spur maybe, set route style to spur. And I've just created my spur, which is going to be to the history site, which I can follow out and back. Probably don't need to follow that out the road, but look, it's always there if you need to get to it. So yeah, that's much probably of what we can go through right now. Again, we say this at the end of every webinar. It's an absolute whirlwind, but you can watch
Hey,
this.
I might just jump in with one or two questions there. So yeah, just on the control points again, there is a lot of features around control points. Well, if you could go back to a route, please, Pete, or even create a bit of a route there. When you have control points in the middle of your route, you can right click on them, and then you will get options there. So you can split the route at that point if you want to. You can delete it, of course, and then you can show the coordinates at that point. You can remove it. You can add a hike highlight there as well. So there is lots of different options when you right click on the control point.
Yes, exactly. Pretty handy. Right there. Yes, yeah, you can do all that kind of stuff. Yeah, look, there's a lot in this. I think the best way to learn the planner, and again, we said this in the last webinar, is to play with it. You're never going to break anything by creating a super big, massive hike, dropping a lot of points, seeing what happens, throwing stuff around the place, adding new intermediate points, dragging them up. Have fun with it. See what you can create. See what kind of crazy hikes you can build. It'll just give you the experience of how you actually do build these things. This one's clearly going over some ferry path or something like that, so that will be included in some of the walks. So yeah, then obviously I can save that, give it a name, give it the difficulty, descriptions, set a hike date if I choose to. You can add images to that. You can set particular activity tags or features of what you can see. Again, one of the very interesting points that we raised when we did the planner on the mobile side is that you can submit any hike that you build to become an official HiiKER hike. So if I toggle this switch and I save, obviously please don't do what I just did and then submit it, because it will be rejected. But if it is accepted and it's a hike that we do not have on HiiKER and you think we're missing something, rebuild the hike or import a GPX or create it yourself and submit it to us. First of all, you'd be helping countless other people who might be looking for a similar hike or the same hike, but you'll also be credited as the creator of that hike. So while we're not opening up the platform to anybody to submit anything, because we know that some of our competitors do that, but we don't agree with that, the hike will go through a verification process with our team and then will be accepted if it's apt and safe and acceptable for hiking, and we think that it's interesting. So if there's something
I just want to jump in there, Pete, and just people are asking here, but yeah, we review most of them are reviewed within 24 hours. If you submit it over the weekend, it could be Monday morning, but we do check all of them. And not only that, you'll get a confirmation email back saying if it's been approved, or if it is rejected, you will get a specific reason why it was rejected. And I really do encourage, like I can't stress this enough, this is something we really do want to see grow, because again, while we're adding as many hikes as we can, the whole reason why we wanted to make a really great partner is so you guys can help us to add great hikes too. So if you do have something good and you do think other users would like it and it's helpful there, send it in. The team will review it. They will get back to you within 24 hours. Sometimes it could take longer if it needs a particularly in-depth review or if we need to make some phone calls about it, but we do try to review them as quickly as possible.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not going to submit this one because team will give out to me. But yeah, when you save that, that's again what I talked about at the start. Once you save a hike here, it's going to sync to your profile and then become directly available on your app, which you can use then to navigate. So it's the entire experience. And if there's anything again that I can bring to you during this webinar, it's try and get on your laptop for planning. Everything will sync to your device when you open the app, and then you can use that for your navigation. So you've got the full experience. Somebody asked, how do I recognize a fellow hiker on a hike?
Yeah, I was just responding to that. I was going to say maybe the one navigating very confidently and
Yes.
And walking with certainty on the correct path.
with a big smile on their face. I don't know if we have a particular look. Maybe we do.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Actually, Glidezilla, if you reach out to us for that lovely comment, we will send you a T-shirt so people can recognize you. So pop me an email, paul@hiiker.com, and you are getting a T-shirt.
Well, I'm wearing the T-shirt, so it's actually pretty cool.
Even better, a worn T-shirt by Pete. No, I joke. It will be a fresh, brand new T-shirt.
This one with pit stains on it after speaking for an hour. So yes, look, I think that's all we have time for, Paul. It's just 1 minute past 8. One thing that I do request, if you enjoyed this, I don't know how many people are still watching. If you enjoyed it, if you got value from it, please leave a comment on the video. And if you're enjoying the app, if you enjoy the website, please review the app on the App Store. It seems to be a difficult thing to force people to do. We have lots and lots of users on HiiKER, but our reviews are not where they need to be. So if you can find 2 minutes out of your day after this webinar finishes,
it would be so greatly appreciated. Please do, guys. It's so greatly appreciated. Thank you.
100%. Yeah. If you're not a Pro Plus user currently and you want to get access to all of these great maps, we currently have a 50% off sale running at the moment for new users. So you can sign up through the website or the apps.
Brilliant. Okay.
Yeah,
thanks very much, everyone.
Very, very last thing, if you have any questions for myself or Paul, go onto the app or onto the website, tap on the support button, and you'll be able to chat to us there or send us an email. So whichever you want.
100%.
Great.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
We'll chat to you again on the next one.